The starship Endeavour floated silently in the blackness of space, its metal hull glinting under the distant light of a dying sun. Inside, the crew moved with the quiet precision of people who had learned to trust their lives to machines and calculations. Humans, aliens, and synthetic beings worked together, yet a subtle tension lingered in the air. The humans had been chosen for this mission not just for skill, but for their unwillingness to accept failure. Captain Elena Voss stood on the bridge, her eyes fixed on the holographic display that mapped the unexplored sector ahead. The readings were strange. Energy spikes, gravitational anomalies, and sudden bursts of radiation flickered across the screens. Every alien on board had paused, exchanging worried glances. To them, the data whispered only one thing. Death was coming, and there was nothing to be done. "Sir," whispered Tarek, the ship's alien navigator, his voice trembling. "These readings, they are beyond anything we've encountered. We cannot survive this region. We should turn back." Elena shook her head. Her jaw was tight, eyes sharp. "We don't turn back, not now. Not ever." She glanced around the bridge. "Humans never accept death. You can if you want, but not us." The aliens murmured among themselves, their bodies tense. Even the synthetic crew members, who normally displayed no emotion, emitted low-frequency alerts signaling rising danger. But the humans remained calm, methodical. They checked every system, ran calculations, plotted every possible course through the deadly region. Then it began. A sudden shudder ran through the ship, rattling consoles and throwing loose objects across the floor. Red warning lights flashed. Alarms screamed. Something massive had just appeared on their sensors, something moving faster than any known spacecraft. Something alive, unknown entity approaching. "Closing in at 37,000 kilometers per second, shouted Lieutenant Kai Ramirez, his hands flying over the controls. The aliens froze. One by one they retreated from the bridge, some muttering prayers or fatalistic warnings. They would not fight, they would not survive. They accepted death, but Elena did not move. Her eyes were locked on the blip on the screen. "We don't give up," she said quietly, more to herself than anyone else. "We find a way." The humans sprang into action. Engineers raced to stabilize the energy shields, while tactical officers attempted to communicate with the approaching entity. Every human instinct screamed danger, but every human mind refused to submit. "Shields at 40%, cried Chief Engineer Juno. Sparks flew from the console and smoke curled into the air. "We can't hold much longer." "Then we don't hold," Elena shouted. "We adapt!" It was this defiance that separated humans from the others. While the aliens believed death was inevitable, the humans saw possibility. Every heartbeat was a chance. Every second could be turned into a strategy. The approaching entity emerged fully on the sensors. It was enormous, larger than any planet-faring ship ever recorded. Its shape was difficult to comprehend, like a living shadow that absorbed light, moving with terrifying intelligence. Its surface rippled, reflecting no stars, no space, nothing. Just dark energy that seemed to pull at the very minds of those who stared too long. "Captain," whispered Tarek, his voice shaking. It is thinking. It knows we are here." Elena's gaze hardened. She gripped the armrest of her chair. "Then we make it think harder." The ship lurched again as the entity emitted a pulse of energy. Every system flickered. The humans were thrown off their feet. Sparks ignited around them. The ship groaned like it was alive, fighting against an unseen force. "Evasive maneuvers," Elena commanded. The pilots twisted the Endeavour, dodging invisible blasts. The humans coordinated with a precision that no alien or machine could match. Every movement was instinct, every decision calculated yet daring. And then came the first human idea that the entity could not anticipate. Juno slammed her fist on a panel, diverting all power to the electromagnetic shields while the engines emitted a counter-frequency pulse. A brilliant arc of energy shot into the void, hitting the entity. For a moment, the creature faltered. It recoiled, ripples of dark energy pulsing across its surface. The bridge erupted with human cheers, but Elena did not smile. She knew better. This was only the beginning. The alien crew looked on in awe and fear. "How?" one of them whispered. "How do they—" Elena turned her eyes to the approaching darkness. "We don't accept death," she said firmly. "We fight. We survive. That's what it means to be human." The creature reformed, its shadowy mass stretching impossibly. Its voice, or what passed for a voice, echoed inside their minds, not loud but chilling. Resistance is meaningless, but humans never heard such words as final. Not meaningless, Elena muttered, gripping her chair. Impossible, maybe. Meaningless? Never. The sensors screamed another warning. Another pulse approached, faster and larger than the first. The Endeavor shuddered violently. Lights flickered. The entire crew was thrown to the floor. Elena stared into the dark unknown, her mind racing. Every human aboard felt it. The moment where the universe itself seemed to say, "You cannot survive." And yet, they would. The entity loomed closer. It could end them all in an instant. Yet in that moment of absolute danger, the humans were not afraid. They were alive. And alive meant fighting. Elena pressed a button, opening a direct neural link with the entity, something no human had ever dared. A surge of energy hit her mind, threatening to tear it apart. But she did not flinch. She had to know. She had to understand. The bridge lights went out. Darkness consumed them. And in that darkness, a single thought burned in Elena's mind. Humans do not accept death. Then the ship was thrown into a void of silence. And the real battle was about to begin. The bridge of the Endeavor was plunged into darkness. Emergency lights flickered weakly, casting eerie red shadows across the human crew. Sparks rained from the ceiling and a low hum of damaged machinery filled the air. Outside, the entity loomed, its black mass stretching across the void like a living storm, moving with an intelligence the humans could barely comprehend. Elena's mind raced. She could feel the entity probing, testing, trying to understand them. Fear pressed at her chest, but she pushed it aside. Humans survive. Humans adapt. Humans fight. That was their nature. Status, she barked, gripping the rail as the ship jolted again. Shields are holding at 20%, but the engines are failing. Juno shouted, smoke curling around her face. If we don't restore power soon, we're dead. The aliens on the bridge cowered, some mumbling prayers or retreating toward the escape pods. They had accepted their end. To them, this was the inevitable truth. Humans, however, would never accept it. Then we fix it, Elena said sharply. She scanned the bridge. Kai, reroute auxiliary power to the engines. Juno, focus on the shields. Everyone else prepare for evasive maneuvers manually if the systems fail. Kai's hands flew over the console, sweat dripping down his face. We can try, but the entity it's anticipating everything we do. It moves faster than thought. Elena clenched her fists. Then we move faster than fear. Humans don't give up. The ship shuddered violently as the entity struck. Waves of energy tore through the hull, throwing the humans against the walls. Panels exploded and alarms screamed louder than ever. The crew gritted their teeth, picking themselves up and returning to their stations. Every second counted. Every second meant survival. Then came an idea, a reckless, desperate idea. But that was the only kind humans ever had in moments like this. Juno, Elena called. I need a temporary conduit. Divert all remaining power to the main engines, but leave just enough for shields. Juno's eyes widened. That's suicide. No, Elena said, her voice steady. It's human. The engineer worked frantically, rerouting power lines, calibrating engines to handle an overload. Sparks flew, and the smell of burnt metal filled the air. But in minutes that felt like hours, the Endeavor roared to life, engines glowing like molten fire. Now, Elena shouted. Kai slammed the controls forward. The ship surged ahead faster than it had ever gone. The entity reacted instantly, a dark wave of energy rushing to intercept them. But the humans had expected it. They twisted, turned, and dived through space with a precision no alien could match. Outside the viewport, the entity rippled in frustration. It had not anticipated human defiance. For the first time, it hesitated, uncertain of what these fragile creatures could do. We're gaining ground, Kai yelled. We might actually... A sudden jolt cut him off. The ship trembled violently. A massive energy tendril from the entity smashed through the hull, tearing through the corridor beyond the bridge. The lights flickered and went out entirely. The Endeavor shuddered like a wounded beast. Seal the hull, Elena shouted. All crew to emergency stations. We can't lose anyone else. The humans moved with practiced efficiency. They navigated dark corridors, sealing breaches and stabilizing systems manually. Every step was dangerous, every moment a test of courage. And yet, through it all, they never stopped fighting. One of the aliens, a tall, slender creature named Reese, approached Elena cautiously. Captain, why? You know this. This entity cannot be defeated. It is inevitable. Elena looked at him, her face calm but determined. Then we make the impossible possible. That's what humans do. We survive when others surrender. We fight when others give in. Reese shook his head, unable to comprehend her conviction. He turned away, muttering to himself. Humans were strange creatures, unpredictable and fearless in the face of death. Meanwhile, the Endeavor's systems began to stabilize. Sparks still flew, but the engines hummed steadily. The ship could move, could fight. And the humans had learned something crucial. The entity was intelligent, yes, but it did not yet understand their ingenuity. Elena turned to her crew. We can't outrun it forever.
We need a plan, a real one.
Something it won't expect. The bridge fell silent as everyone stared at the displays, trying to make sense of the readings. The entity's shape shifted constantly, a mass of darkness that warped space around it. Its energy pulses were unpredictable, deadly, and then an idea sparked. Listen, Elena said, leaning over the console. It moves fast, but it reacts to energy signatures. If we can mask our power output, we might slip past it. We can use the debris field from its own attacks as cover. We can turn its strength against itself. The humans' eyes lit with hope. For the first time, they felt a glimmer of possibility. They might survive. They might outsmart the impossible. The aliens stared in disbelief, unable to imagine such daring. Humans were reckless, yes, but there was method to their madness. And in the chaos of the universe, that was their greatest weapon. Kai adjusted the controls. It's risky, but it might work. Elena nodded. Then we do it. We are humans. We don't accept death. We don't accept fear. We make our own fate. The Endeavor surged forward, plunging into the debris field with its engines masked, every human aboard holding their breath. The entity's energy pulses streaked past them, missing by fractions of a second. Sparks flew outside the viewport as chunks of destroyed ships and asteroids whirled around them like a deadly storm. And then, silence. For a brief, heart-stopping moment, the Endeavor was invisible, untouchable, moving through the darkness while the entity searched blindly. The humans had done the impossible. They had outsmarted a creature that should have destroyed them. But Elena knew better. The entity was still out there, and it would learn. The real challenge was only beginning. She pressed her hand to the console. This isn't over. Not by far. We survived today, yes. But tomorrow it will adapt, and we will need to adapt faster. The crew exchanged looks, a mixture of exhaustion, relief, and determination. They were humans, and humans did not give up. Outside, the dark mass of the entity pulsed, waiting, watching, learning. And somewhere in the void, a silent promise formed. The next encounter would be even more dangerous, and the humans would have to pay a higher price to survive. Elena stared into the darkness, her eyes sharp and unwavering. We fight. We survive. We are human, and no one, not even this thing, will take that away from us. And somewhere in the shadows of space, the entity paused. It had met its match. The battle was far from over. The Endeavor drifted through the debris-strewn void, its hull scarred but intact. Outside, fragments of destroyed ships and asteroids spun in silent chaos, remnants of the entity's attacks. The humans aboard moved cautiously, each step measured, but their hearts raced. Every sensor scan whispered the same terrifying truth. The entity had not given up. It was still out there, learning, hunting, adapting. Captain Elena Voss stood on the bridge, her hands gripping the rail. The crew looked to her, their faces pale but determined. Fear hung in the air, but it did not break them. Humans never allowed fear to dictate their choices. We survived the first attack, she said, her voice steady. That's what humans do. But surviving is not enough. We have to fight smart, faster, better. Otherwise, she let the words trail off, letting the silence fill the bridge. Juno, the chief engineer, wiped soot from her face and shook her head. Every system is stressed beyond limits. Shields, engines, weapons, they're all operating at maximum. We can't keep this up for long. Then we improvise, Elena said. We are humans. Improvisation is our weapon. Kai Ramirez, the pilot, frowned. Captain, even if we adapt, it's learning. Every trick we try, it will counter. Eventually, it will corner us. We can't outfight it forever. Elena met his gaze. Maybe not with brute force. But humans don't fight brute force with brute force. We fight with courage, with intelligence, with creativity. That's what makes us dangerous. The sensors beeped urgently. A new blip appeared, a smaller, faster object moving toward them. At first glance, it seemed like debris, but the energy readings told another story. It was alive and it was hunting. Something's coming, Kai said, tension in his voice.
And it's fast. Elena narrowed her eyes.
Then we prepare. Humans don't run from danger. We face it. The object slammed into the Endeavor without warning, striking the hull with a force that shook the ship to its core. Alarms screamed and the bridge lurched violently. Crew members tumbled to the floor, grappling with consoles to stay upright. "Brace for impact," Elena shouted. Sparks flew as the ship's system strained. The humans held on, their bodies pressed against anything solid, their minds razor-sharp despite the chaos. The entity's smaller extension detached from its main form, a dark shard of energy that moved with precision like a predator studying its prey. It struck again and again, probing the Endeavor, searching for weaknesses. "Shields down to 10%, Juno cried. "If it hits again, we're done." Elena's eyes blazed. "Then we don't get hit again. We fight differently," she issued rapid commands. Kai twisted the ship through a series of complex maneuvers, weaving between debris, dodging the entity's attacks with the instinctive precision humans were known for. Juno recalibrated the shields, sending short bursts of energy to reinforce critical points. The aliens on the bridge cowered, unable to comprehend the humans' daring. One of them, a tall, spindly figure named Reese, muttered, "They are insane. Or brilliant. Perhaps both." Elena ignored them. Her focus was absolute. The humans aboard had to survive. They had to adapt faster than the entity could. Then came another idea. A desperate, impossible idea, but humans thrived on the impossible. "Juno," Elena said, leaning over the console, "prepare an energy pulse. But make it unstable, volatile. We'll use the entity's own attacks to amplify it. It's a risk, but it might buy us time." Juno hesitated, then nodded. "It's reckless, but it just might work." The humans worked as one. A perfect machine of determination and courage. Sparks flew, alarms blared, and every second stretched like hours. Finally, the pulse was ready, humming with raw energy, unstable and dangerous. Elena pressed the activation button. The Endeavor shuddered as the pulse erupted, a wave of chaotic energy shooting into the void. The entity's smaller extension recoiled, distorted by the sudden blast. The Endeavor twisted and turned, using the debris and energy to slip past the creature's immediate reach. For a brief, precious moment, the humans had an advantage. They were alive. They were moving. They were human, but victory was fleeting. The entity reformed, larger, more intelligent, and angrier than before. It had learned. It had adapted. And now, it was not just hunting. They were its puzzle, and it was determined to solve it. The Endeavor groaned as it accelerated, engines glowing hot. Every human aboard felt it, the weight of the impossible. They were alive, yes, but survival came with cost. Exhaustion, fear, and stress pressed on them like gravity. Every system screamed, every nerve burned. Elena's mind raced. They had outsmarted the entity once, but next time, could they do it again? Could humans survive where others would fail? She glanced at her crew, faces pale, eyes sharp, determination burning bright. Humans did not accept death. Humans did not surrender. That was why they were alive now against all odds. A warning blared on the sensors. Something massive was forming ahead. Not just a single entity, but multiple forms emerging from the shadows. The entity was dividing, adapting, attacking in ways they had never imagined. Kai's hands trembled on the controls. "Captain, we can't outrun this." "Not all of it." Elena's voice was calm but resolute. "Then we don't outrun it. We fight, we adapt, we survive. Humans always do." Outside the viewport, the void shimmered. Shadows multiplied, moving with precision, hunger, and intelligence. The Endeavor would have to navigate this new danger. Every second would test their courage, their ingenuity, their humanity. The crew tightened grips, their hearts pounding. They were humans, and humans never gave up. Elena pressed her hand to the console, staring into the darkness. "This is just the beginning. The real fight is coming, and we will face it. Together." The entity's dark form surged closer, faster than thought, intent clear. The humans had survived once. Could they survive again? The bridge went silent, save for the hum of engines and the distant, terrifying pulse of alien energy. And in that silence, one truth remained. Humans never accept death. The battle was far from over. The Endeavor surged through the black void, weaving between debris and the flickering shadows of the entity's new forms. The crew's hands were steady on the controls, but their hearts raced. Outside, the entity had multiplied into jagged, shifting shapes, each one moving with an intelligence that seemed almost human. Captain Elena Voss leaned over the console, eyes sharp and calculating. Every heartbeat mattered. Every decision could mean life or death. The humans were exhausted, but exhaustion had never broken them before. "We need a plan," she said, her voice calm yet commanding. "We can't just dodge forever. It's learning, adapting. If we don't do something bold, we'll be torn apart." Juno wiped soot from her face, her hands shaking slightly. "Bold, everything we try is risky, Captain. The shields can only take so much. The engines. I don't know how much longer." Elena met her gaze. "Then we do what humans do. We take the risk. We create the impossible." Kai Ramirez, the pilot, glanced nervously at the viewport. "Impossible? Like what?" Elena didn't answer immediately. She scanned the sensors, looking for patterns in the entity's movements. It was fast, aggressive, but it had a weakness, a rhythm, a fraction of a second where its attention shifted from one form to another. That was all they needed. One opening, one chance. "Juno, prepare the pulse again," Elena said. "But this time we synchronize it with the engines. We use its own energy against it. Make it unstable. Make it count." The engineer hesitated, then nodded. Humans thrived on challenges that others would call suicidal. She worked quickly, rerouting power lines and calculating risks. Sparks flew and alarms blared, but the crew moved as one. Outside, the entity's forms closed in, faster than any human could follow with the eye. Shadows collided with each other, rippling and twisting. It was terrifying, beautiful, and deadly. "Steady," Elena said, gripping the rail. "Humans don't panic. Humans fight," the pulse erupted. Energy surged through the Endeavor, mixing with the engine's thrust. Outside, the entity's shape shattered, some of them disintegrating under the chaotic wave. Others twisted unpredictably, momentarily confused, giving the Endeavor a small advantage. "Now," Elena shouted. "Kai, take us through the gap. Everyone else, hold the pulse stable." The ship twisted, diving through the void with breathtaking speed. Shadows collided and recoiled around them. For a heartbeat, the humans were untouchable. The entity had been forced to react, giving the crew space to breathe, space to fight. The aliens on the bridge watched in awe. "How?" one whispered. "They are insane or brilliant." "Perhaps both," Elena ignored them. She had no time for disbelief. Every second counted. Every second could mean survival. Then, from the far side of the viewport, a new danger appeared. Smaller tendrils of dark energy were closing in, faster than before, moving with precision. The entity had learned again. It had adapted to their last move. "We can't keep dodging," Kai yelled. "It's anticipating us every step." Elena's eyes narrowed. "Then we stop dodging. We strike." The humans had nothing left but creativity and courage. They moved with synchronization that was almost instinctual. Juno stabilized the pulse while Elena and Kai maneuvered the ship to use the debris as cover, funneling the tendrils into traps. The plan was dangerous. One mistake would mean death. But humans had never lived by certainty. The entity lunged. Energy tendrils struck the ship, but they followed the path the humans had predicted. One by one, the tendrils collided with debris, exploding in sparks and ripples of energy. The Endeavor moved through the chaos with deadly precision. "Hold the pulse," Elena shouted. Juno's hands flew over the controls, her mind focused entirely. The energy built to a crescendo, then released in a brilliant wave. The tendrils shattered and the shadows recoiled. For a moment, the humans had won, but the victory was fleeting. From the darkness, the entity reformed, larger, more terrifying than before. Its main mass stretched like a living storm, eyes, or what passed for eyes, glowing with intelligence and fury. Elena pressed her hands to the console. "It's learning too fast, faster than we can anticipate. We need a new approach, something bold, something human." The bridge fell silent. The crew's exhaustion weighed heavily, but no one faltered. Humans never faltered. Then Elena spoke, her voice low but commanding. "We're going to take the fight to it. Not react, not hide. We're going to strike where it least expects." Kai's eyes widened. "Strike, Captain? That's dangerous." We could survive," Elena interrupted. "Or we could die." But we will not surrender. We are humans, and humans do not accept death. Outside, the entity paused, as if sensing the change in the human's approach. It had never seen such courage, such defiance. It had faced obstacles before, but this was different. Elena turned to the crew. Prepare for a direct assault. We hit its core, its main mass. It's risky, but it's our only chance. Humans fight when others flee. Humans survive when others surrender. The crew nodded, their fear replaced by determination. Every human aboard understood one truth. They would face impossible odds, and they would survive or they would die trying. The Endeavor surged forward, engines blazing, heading straight for the heart of the darkness. Shadows twisted and lunged, but the humans held their course. They were defiant, unbreakable, unstoppable. And somewhere in the void, the entity paused. It sensed the humans' courage, their unpredictability, their refusal to submit. And in that moment, it realized one terrifying truth. Humans would not give up. The battle was far from over. But for the first time, the humans had taken the fight to the enemy, and the enemy had never faced anything like them. The Endeavor raced through the void, engines roaring, sparks flying from damaged systems. The entity's massive shadow stretched across the darkness, twisting and reshaping itself with intelligence and fury. Its smaller tendrils whipped around, striking at anything in reach. The humans aboard were exhausted, battered but unbroken. Captain Elena Voss gripped the rail, her eyes scanning the shifting mass. Every move the entity made was faster than thought, every shadow a potential threat. But she had learned its patterns. She had seen its weaknesses. Humans survived where others failed because they could think, adapt, and act where others froze. Juno, shields at 50%. We can't take another direct hit, Kai reported, sweat dripping down his face. Then we don't take another direct hit, Elena said, her voice calm, deadly focused. We force it into our game. We make it fight on our terms. The bridge fell silent. Every crew member held their breath. Humans were about to do the impossible again. Prepare the engines for a full surge, Elena ordered. We'll use the debris field, the energy pulse, everything. We'll strike at its core. Nothing else matters. Outside, the entity's main mass pulsed, glowing faintly with dark energy. Its smaller extensions swirled like living blades, probing, testing, seeking weakness. It had learned. It had adapted. But it had never faced humans willing to risk everything in a single, decisive move. Kai's hands flew over the controls. We can't get close without shields failing. Then we get creative, Elena said. Humans survive by being unpredictable. Follow my lead. The Endeavor twisted through the debris field, engines screaming, hull groaning under the strain. Sparks flew from exposed conduits, smoke curling into the air. The smaller tendrils of the entity struck again and again, but the humans anticipated each attack, using debris as cover, energy pulses as diversions. Every move was precise, every decision calculated, but daring. Now, Juno, Helena shouted. The engineer slammed the stabilizer, releasing a massive, unstable energy pulse directly into the heart of the entity's core. The ship shook violently. Lights flickered. Alarms screamed. The crew held on, their faces pressed against consoles and railings, hearts pounding. Outside, the entity recoiled. Its smaller form scattered, twisting in confusion. The pulse had hit its core, destabilizing it in a way no attack had before. For the first time, the humans saw the impossible. The entity faltered, unable to immediately adapt. Elena's voice cut through the chaos. Now, Kai? Direct assault! The Endeavor surged forward, weaving between shadows and energy spikes, heading straight for the exposed core. Every second was a gamble. Every decision could mean death. The entity roared. Not a sound that could be heard, but a vibration that shook the minds of the humans. It lashed out, energy tendrils striking, but the humans had predicted the pattern. One by one, the attacks missed, destroyed by debris or counterpulses. Almost there, Elena said, teeth clenched. Hold your positions. This is it. The ship slammed into the core. Systems overloaded. Sparks exploded. The hull shuddered as the energy pulse detonated inside the entity. Shadows rippled, twisted, and then fractured. The entity screamed in a way that echoed through the void, its intelligence struggling to comprehend what had happened. Outside the viewport, its massive forms disintegrated, dissolving into nothingness, leaving only scattered dark particles drifting through the void. The humans had struck the impossible blow. The entity had been defeated, Not by sheer force, but by courage, creativity, and determination. The bridge fell silent. Smoke cleared. The lights flickered back to life. Crew members stared at the viewport, mouths open, hearts pounding. They had survived. They had won. Elena turned to her crew, her face tired but resolute. We did it. Humans survive where others would fail. We never give up. We never accept death. Kai laughed shakily, relief flooding his voice. We actually did it. Juno wiped soot from her face, smiling through exhaustion. We're still alive. Against all odds. The aliens on the bridge looked on, a mixture of awe and disbelief. One muttered, They are incredible. They fight when others surrender. They survive when others die. Humans, Elena nodded slowly. Yes, humans. She gazed out into the void where the darkness of the entity had been. We are more than the universe expects, and we will always fight, always survive. That's what it means to be human. A deep silence followed. The kind that comes after impossibility has been conquered. The humans knew this battle was over. But they also knew there would always be more challenges. The universe was vast, unpredictable, and often cruel, but humans thrived on the impossible. Juno leaned against the console. Captain. What now? Elena's eyes remained on the void. Now, we go home. But we remember. We remember that humans never accept death, and we carry that truth wherever we go. The ship hummed steadily, engines stabilizing, shields holding. Outside, the void was quiet. The entity was gone, defeated, fractured by human courage and ingenuity. The crew exchanged smiles, laughter, and quiet tears. They had survived the impossible. They had faced the unimaginable and emerged victorious. And somewhere in the vast emptiness of space, a simple truth lingered. Humans do not give up. Humans adapt. Humans fight. Humans survive. The Endeavour drifted forward, battered but unbroken, carrying the living proof that humanity was capable of extraordinary things. For the humans aboard, it was not the end. It was a beginning, a testament to courage, defiance, and the enduring power of the human spirit. The universe had met its match. The Endeavour drifted through the quiet void, its engines humming softly, shields glowing faintly. The entity had been defeated. The black shadows that had threatened to consume them were gone, scattered like dust across the endless darkness. For the first time in days, the humans aboard could breathe without fear pressing down on their chests. Captain Elena Voss leaned against the rail, staring out at the stars. They had survived the impossible. Against a being beyond comprehension, against odds that would have broken any other species the humans had endured. And they had won. Juno, her hands, still blackened from repairs, wiped sweat and soot from her face. We actually did it, she whispered. Her voice trembled, a mixture of relief and disbelief. Kai Ramirez laughed softly, though it was shaky. I thought we were done. I thought this was it. Elena turned to them, her eyes sharp but warm. That's the difference. Most species would have accepted the end. Most species would have given up when faced with something they could not understand. Humans never accept death. We fight, we survive. That's what makes us dangerous and extraordinary. The aliens on the bridge watched in silence, some still pale from fear, others wide-eyed in awe. Reese, the tall, spindly alien who had doubted humans before, finally spoke. You faced impossible odds. And you lived. How is it possible? Elena smiled faintly. Because we refuse to surrender. We think, we adapt, we take risks. We use everything we have, and sometimes we use everything we don't yet have. That's what it means to be human. Outside, the void was calm. The entity was gone. But its presence lingered like a memory, a warning of what lay in the universe's endless darkness. The humans had faced it and survived. They had proved something to themselves, and to the universe. Kai leaned back in his chair, exhausted. What now, Captain? Where do we go from here? Elena's gaze returned to the stars. Endless points of light scattered across black infinity. We go home. We repair the ship. We live and we remember. We remember that humans never give up, never accept death, and never surrender. The crew exchanged quiet smiles, a sense of unity and pride settling over them. They had been pushed to the edge, faced the unimaginable, and yet they had endured. The bonds between them were stronger than ever, forged in the fires of impossibility. Captain, Juno said softly. Do you think there will be more out there? More like that? Elena nodded. Yes, the universe is vast, full of dangers and full of challenges. But humans will always meet them. We fight, we adapt, we survive. That is who we are. The bridge fell silent for a moment, each crew member lost in their thoughts. Then Elena spoke again, her voice carrying quiet strength. We are the living proof that courage, ingenuity, and determination matter. That hope is not meaningless. That humans. We never accept defeat. We never accept death. Outside the viewport, stars stretched into endless patterns, distant suns burning in colors no one could name. The Endeavour sailed through the void, battered but unbroken, carrying the living testament of human resilience. For the aliens aboard, the lesson was clear. Humans were not just strong. They were unpredictable. They were fearless. They were capable of brilliance in the darkest moments. And the universe had underestimated them at its own peril. The humans did not speak of glory or fame. They did not celebrate. They simply continued to do what humans did best: survive, adapt, and move forward. Each moment a statement of defiance. Each breath a reminder of what it meant to be alive. Elena looked around at her crew one last time, pride shining in her eyes. We survived. Against everything. And we will continue to survive. That is the human way. The ship's engines thrummed steadily. Systems stabilized. Lights returned to their full strength. The void was calm, but the humans knew better. There would be new challenges. There would be new threats. But humans were ready. Always ready, Kai smiled faintly. Captain, humans really are something else. Elena's lips curved in a tired but determined smile. Yes, Kai, humans are extraordinary, and the universe will learn that lesson one challenge at a time. The Endeavour sailed onward through the endless darkness, carrying humans who refused to accept death. Their story was not over. It had only just begun. Somewhere in the cold expanse of space, the stars seemed to shine a little brighter, as if recognizing the courage of those who dared to fight against impossibility. And in that vast silence, one truth rang clear. Humans survive. Humans fight. Humans endure. And humans never accept death. The Endeavour continued its journey, alive, unbroken, unstoppable. Humanity's defiance echoing across the stars.